Hi guys, welcome to Wapiti Live Q&A for Wednesday, November 8th. Um, it's kind of funny. I've been thinking the last few days of what I wanted to talk about tonight. And then a couple of days ago, a quote popped up and it just really got me thinking. And I want you guys to think about this quote. The magic you are looking for is in the work you are avoiding. And I
Hmm.
was like, man, that applies to so many things. And I was like, okay, that quote really hit me, and I was like, let let's see how we can take this quote and morph it into elk hunting. And so that's why, tonight is called Elkwoods Magic. Because, a lot of times the magic we're looking for is in the work that we're avoiding. For a lot of people, it could be practicing calling. For other people, it could be, getting to know elk behavior, e-scouting, becoming proficient with their bow, getting physically fit. There's just so many avenues that this quote applies to in elk hunting. And so that's kind of one of the things that we're going to kind of talk about tonight, kind of things, because here we are in the off season now. I can't really say season's done because I have a late season cow hunt that starts Friday and goes until the end of the month, but I'm not sure how excited I am about it after Idaho Fish and Game's announcement today.
Oh, the chronic wasting disease.
Yep. Yeah, chronic wasting disease. A deer was shot, what, 7 miles south of New
Really?
Meadows. And so now they're saying anyone in 32A, which is the unit that I have been hunting for several years, and neighboring units, which happens to be the zone that we hunted this year. So I'm like, man, and Liz and I were talking about, and she's like, oh, she goes, but do you really want to go up and shoot a cow? Do you really want to eat it if it has chronic wasting disease? And I'm like, we can't eat it. I mean, that's one of the things that, you have to take either the head in and they test it, or you remove the lymph nodes and they test them. But basically, they'll tell you if it tests positive, it's positive for chronic wasting disease, you have to dispose of the whole entire elk. So, but, anyways, okay. So, the work that is avoiding, I'm going to start with one of them that this year I was really bad at. Most of the years I start, I mean, once season's done, I kind of put the bow away for a little bit. And then in January, I start shooting, and then I shoot, all throughout the rest of the winter and spring and summer, especially when we're in camp. And just really didn't shoot that much this year. And that's one of the things that kind of weighed on my mind when I was out hunting was like, man, I mean, I've shot for years. I have complete confidence, in my shooting ability, but still when you're shooting on a consistent basis, you just everything becomes automatic and second nature. Just the confidence that you have in everything is just, so much better, and your confidence level is elevated. And that's one of those things that we all want the perfect scenario when it comes to elk. We want 20 yards or less, completely broadside, standing still, nothing in the way, no brush, no branches. But we've all been out there and we know the reality. That's not always the case. I mean, yeah, I know of all the elk I've harvested, I mean, my average shot is 22 yards. And so I've been extremely fortunate to get them close. But I have had situations where there has been, longer shots to where I've been like, man, it's down towards the tail end of the season. Maybe I should take this shot. And I talked myself out of it because I still have, I still always tell myself I will never shoot past 40 yards on a first shot. There's just so much that can happen. That animal takes one step and whew, you went from behind the shoulder to a long, long day. So, I mean, yeah, it worked out for you, Greg. Most of the time, it doesn't. Most of the time, I mean, a liver shot elk, I mean, you're talking 12 to 14 hours of agony and misery, not just for the elk, but for yourself. I mean, you get in a situation, where you're on an elk like that, and it tears you up. It really, I mean, if you've ever seen a liver hit elk and seeing how sick that they are, and just you can tell they're hurting, and I mean, trying to get in to get follow-up shots, and it's it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. We had one, oh, it's probably been 5 years ago now. But holy cow. I mean, we got lucky. That dude went and laid down in some buck brush that was thick, 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 and we got lucky and actually bumped him out of his bed, which gave us an opportunity to, track him. And then we ended up coming out of the trees, and there he is on a open hillside across from us. No way we can stalk closer. And, we're ranging, and he was 66 yards. And Chris was the one that shot him, and we were like, okay, dude, you got to put the follow up. And I mean, he was a wreck. He was like, and he was second year of archery hunting, and now here he's presented with a 66-yard shot, 67-yard shot to put this elk down, and he was just like, man, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And I was like, fine. So Kelly, one of the guys in the group, he was like, oh, I'll do it, I'll do it. And he didn't execute the shot. He ended up hitting the bull again, not in a vital place. And now all of a sudden, we're just all sitting there, and it's just tearing at your heartstrings. And so finally I stepped up and dialed it in at 67 and really controlled my nerves and really, executed the shot. And that bull ended up rolling on the left side and broke my arrow. Nobody else's arrow got broke. And so I'm like, man, you try to do a good thing and your arrow gets snapped. So, but, crazy thing was we had another bull, and what happened with the reason it was a liver shot, and that was a great lesson. And I had told you guys this, that, in his mind, he put his pin right behind the shoulder, but it happened right at first light, and it happened so quick that he didn't realize that near side leg was back. It wasn't forward. So if he's right behind the shoulder here, that leg's back. And in fact, when that bull was laying on his side, Chris was like, man, I know I was right behind the shoulder. And I took that leg and I pulled it back. And I said, well, look, your shot is right behind the shoulder. I said, was this near leg back? And he goes, man, it happened so fast, I don't know. And I was like, well, I can guarantee from this point forward, you will double check and make sure that leg is forward. Again, that just kind of goes into, the magic that you want, and understanding, the anatomy of the elk. And I know things happen fast sometimes. So, but then, yeah, also later that year, called in a bull for Bryce, and Bryce zipped him right behind the shoulder. Perfect shot. The only problem is that arrow went in and ticked the very, very edge of a ridge or a rib and turned. And so it barely nicked the near side lung and then went out. And I mean, that dude was sick. I mean, I tracked him and found him bedded down. We were elevated and looking down, and he was just in a place that could not get to him and get another shot. And so I finally threw a rock down there to get him up, and all he did was just get up and go over the crest of the road. And then Bryce looped around to try to catch him, and I dropped down because I knew there was an old road there, and I dropped down, and there he is, kind of bedded down on the edge of the road in the shadow. And so I got up to about 26 yards and put another arrow in him, and he rolled over and broke that arrow too. So I came to a conclusion that year that I'm not putting any more follow-up bull or arrows in, because they keep rolling over and snapping my dang arrows that I'm paying money for. So, but
Those are the kind of things that bother you all winter and spring and everything till season opens again.
they are, and I mean, a poor shot. Um, yeah, I mean, it sticks with you all through the year. I mean, I had one that I, stuck in the shoulder just because I didn't bring my pin all the way down. Um, I had my pin set at 30, and that bull was at 18 yards, and so I cracked the shot off when that 30-yard pin was right on the heart lung line. But since he was 18 yards, I cracked him up in the shoulder blade. So, and I mean, that's something that ate me up all through the winter. It's like, man, because I mean that took a hell of a tracking job to, chase him down. And, had I just executed the shot, but it was one of those things where um, just didn't practice that much going into the season. And so I mean that's why with my bow, with shooting that single pin with it set at 30, I'll leave it set at 30. And I mean, all summer long in camp I'm shooting 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards with that thing set at 30, so I know exactly how low I need to hold for, if he's at 20, and how high I need to hold it at 40. And after that, what's kind of funny is um, ever since then, Bryce and I have just left our pin at 20. It's like, let's just go back to 20 yards. I mean, our average shot is mine's 22 yards. Bryce is in that 25 to 26. He goes, so really, he goes, why don't we just set it at 20, and we'll adjust, we'll hold a little bit high, and then we don't have to, even think about it. And so, but the work with the equipment, it definitely is something that is important. And one of that is not just only shooting field points, but about a month before the season, you got to switch over to broadheads and spend at least a month shooting broadheads, because there's a lot of times that when you make that jump from a field point to a broadhead, that you have to do a little bit of tuning on your bow to get that broadhead flying exactly and hitting exactly like your field points do. And that could be micro adjustments on your rest. And that's where I know I've talked a little bit about the walk back tune, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do a video. That I'm going to do two videos. One, I'm going to show bare shaft tuning of a bow and a rest, for getting your fletched arrows with a field point to fly exactly like a bare shaft. You do that, then that arrow's coming true, and then I'll take it a step further, and then I'll go from the field point to the broadhead with the tune. And then what's crazy is I'll show you guys on video. I'll do three shots. One's going to be a field point, one's going to be a bare shaft, and one's going to be a broadhead, and they're all going to fly exactly the same. And that group will be right there. Last time I did this, I actually blew 2 knocks. So I learned you shoot the broadhead first, not last. So
Yeah.
I mean, see, I get to make those mistakes and costly mistakes with the money so that I can pass on that information to you guys, so that you guys don't have to make those foolish mistakes. So, okay. So we kind of touched on elk anatomy. I know, God, what was it last year that we did the shot placement, where I had the different pictures with the triangle and all that stuff. That is something that I think it's not a one and done. It's something that you constantly have to study. And what's kind of cool, I know they have them. I know they have them for deer, but it's basically it's a 3D model that has different holes that you can stick this gray rod through. So if it's broadside, you can stick it through. So you have the normal side of the deer on this, so you stick your arrow through, and then you turn that thing around and the other side's open, so you can exactly see their anatomy, their heart, their lungs, and everything. And then what's kind of cool is then they have angles. So then, like, if he's quartering away, you can put that through that hole, and then you can take a look and go, okay, that's how that arrow, that's why I aim for the opposite front leg when he's quartering away, because then of the angle, quartering two. Quartering two is a pretty low percentage shot, but if you understand the anatomy and you understand the soft tissue, you can make that shot. I've actually taken two elk quartering towards me, and they didn't go more than 30 yards before they piled over. But that's because I understand how the rib cage comes together, where the opening is, with the sternum in the front, and where I can slip it, whether the legs forward or legs back. And if you understand that, plus also, I think the first one I took was about 17, 18 yards, slightly uphill a little bit, and he had that near leg back, which I knew there was that soft window right in there that I could just come right up through, sneak it just on the edge of the ribs into, because there's a basketball size opening at the front of the ribs. So I knew exactly where I could, stick that through. Same thing with that frontal shot. I mean, I love the frontal shot. It's probably the most deadliest shot that's out there. So, but the reason a lot of people say wait for a broadside shot is because a broadside shot, it's a higher percentage shot, because if you do have emotions or adrenaline or this or that, you have a larger margin for error, where a frontal shot you don't. So, and that's why I have those parameters that we talked about, that it has to be 20 yards or less, level, slightly downhill, no brush, and the animal needs to be fairly calm, not know that I'm there. If those things aren't there, I'm not taking that frontal. I mean, I've seen it before where people have tried to take a frontal shot on an elk that's alert and on guard, and as soon as saw movement, he wheeled, and then man, you end up with shoulder hits or just crazy wonky weird things happen. So understanding the anatomy, I think it's something that you need to put in the work and really understand. And I'll do some more videos about elk anatomy, and I'll see if I can find one of those 3D models. And so it's kind of cool. I can position it, and you guys can tell me which hole to put the shot through, and then I can put that through, then turn it around so you can see the vitals. And
That'd be cool.
it's a cool thing to play with.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things that when I saw it and played with it, I was like, I really don't want to spend the money on it, because after playing with it for a couple of days, you kind of know exactly where to go. But now I have an excuse to get one, to use it for educational purposes, not only for you guys, but for Knox also, with him getting started. So next year, so
How old is he now?
he turns 12 in December.
Yay.
Yeah, I know. In fact, Saturday I cleaned my rifle and Liz's rifle, and he was helping me with that. And so I gave him specific duties, and we had a good time cleaning guns. And then I came upstairs, and I said, okay, dude, I said, you're hunting next year. And so I opened up the gun closet and pulled a rifle out, and he's like, what's that? And I said, dude, this is your rifle. What do you mean
One
that's
of
my
these
my rifle?
days,
So
one of these days, Jim, Larry, Sandy, and I we're gonna log on to this meeting, and Knock will be there. And he goes, "I'm filling in for Dad
yeah.
today."
He would love that. Unfortunately, the whole lesson would be on the Phelps Easy Sucker, and making the cow sounds on that, and raking. Those are his two hot topics right now.
We need review there too.
Yeah. Although I may I may have him play with the mouthpiece, that Terminator mouthpiece that I put on that Monarch tube, and get him bugling on that a little bit. So, yeah, and Liz is she's done with rifle hunting on over the counter tags. I mean, we could not get away from people that last trip out. Oh, that last day we went out. We drive up there, and that was right after we had that snowstorm, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I was wondering how your weekend went.
We got out of the truck, and it was 19 degrees with wind chill down to 14. So got and I actually drove in a lot farther than where I normally do to unload the General, just because, well, it was 19 degrees with a wind chill down to 14. So, but we unloaded the General and started going, and I'm like, okay. I said, this is our hidey hole. You know, lots of elk, no people, and man, we start heading back, and well, shit, there's a camp, and man, here comes a side by side behind us, and oh crap, there's a truck in front of us. And the trail that I wanted to get to, it's an 8.5 mile trail that follows a ridge. And man, guys trailered four-wheelers back in there, had two wall tents, and they had their ATV trailers blocking the trail. So
Yeah.
I know. And it was like, well, Liz was like, well, can you get around them? I'm like, yeah, if I had my chainsaw and I cut down a bunch of frickin' trees, I can get around them. So, but it's like, seriously? So, so she's like, I'm done. She goes, I'm just putting in for draws. I said, or you have that bow. Why don't we just work on getting you proficient with the bow and you just come archery hunting with us? And then October we can focus on rifle hunts for whitetail up outside of Riggins, which she loves that Riggins area. So I think she's going to join me in the September hustle next year. So because she already has a bow, but so yeah, I'll keep throwing this quote at her about the magic that she wants. Is in the work she's avoiding, and it'll be good too because that'll force me to go shoot quite a bit, shoot more. And Knox actually wants to shoot his bow. So okay, so we've talked about proficiency with weapon, and we've talked about understanding anatomy of the elk. The other thing with the elk too is understanding their behaviors. I know we've done several live Q&As on elk behavior. I know I've got a video on the YouTube channel of what elk eat. Definitely things to keep watching. Anything you can get your hands on. There is a great book, I know I've talked about it before, by Dr. Valerius Geist, that you can find on Amazon. That guy's a biologist, and I mean, everything in that book, you really want to understand elk behavior. That book is a must read on elk behavior. In fact, that's one of the things that I was kind of thinking about on this quote, and is like, I really need to go back and read that book again. It's not something that you read once and put on the shelf and say, I read that. It's definitely a tool to go back and keep brushing up, and just continually, working on the education. It makes you better. It actually makes your hunting better. Because you understand the behaviors, you understand situations, you understand what's going on at different times of year. I know with the rut report, we kind of talk about it, but I mean, these are things they can do in the off season as well to continue to prepare and prep. Another thing is study the map, study your hunt areas. Really get to know them. What's kind of funny is, within our hunt areas, we get kind of locked into favorite places within our hunt areas, and that's what we focus on. But what if somebody is there? What if somebody's in both your favorite spots? Then what are you going to do? Then where are you going to go? I know that happened to us a couple of years ago, that I started branching out into some new areas, and holy crap, did we find a gold mine in Jurassic Park? That area was, I mean, it's just such a cool area to get into, and the number of elk that were in there. And then also too, this year with us hunting the new area and really studying, I mean, I was sitting there studying the map, and I'm like, holy crap, here are 2 6-acre pieces of state ground that are completely surrounded by private property.
Oh my.
How many people do you think are just driving by those 6-acre pieces just because they think it's private, or
Oh
or they
my.
look at it and go, it's 6 acres. I mean, we're not going to hunt that. We'd hunt it in 15 minutes. Well, I'm glad you.
Some of the areas that Fritz and I hunt regularly now were discovered because there was somebody where we were headed,
Yep.
and we decided, well, let's go in here, over, back off, go somewhere else, and turns out to be a better area,
Yeah.
and we go back there over and over and over.
Well, and even studying your own X maps during the winter. I've looked at areas that have been hunting and just looking at this map, and then all of a sudden, it's blaring. It's like, why did I never notice that before? And why have I not been in there or this or that? Or even too into your favorite areas, start looking for other avenues to get in there. Is there a more proficient way? Or the other thing too that a lot of people don't think about is, okay, I'm hunting this area. What if I get an animal down that goes over the top of this ridge and down on this face? Is it best for me to come up the face and back the way I came in, or do I go around and come from the underneath? Is there a better route to take him out? So we think about how to get into areas and we think about how to hunt these areas, but very rarely do we make that plan of, okay, I get something down, what's my best route to take it out? And you can map tracks and remember some of those tidbits that um when we had Mark Livesay on with Timberline Pursuits, and he was talking about some of the things that you can do in Google Earth to map paths, and then you can export that and drop it into your OnX, and then you have these designated routes. And so these are things that you could be doing during the winter that's just going to make you more proficient on your hunts and more effective. And also too, I mean, we've talked about it where you learn your area, and their feeding areas and their bedding areas and their morning travel corridors and their evening travel corridors. Well, man, what about spending the time during the winter of looking that map and going, okay, I know they're going to go from here to there in the morning. I don't necessarily want to chase them up this distance. Is there a place I could drive to? And I mean, it could be that you drive 5-10 miles out of the way, but then you have a much shorter trip from coming in on the side, and then you're waiting for them when they start getting up close to that bedding area and they start settling down. Man, you're already there to maximize and have that extended time of working them, which gives you more time in that area to work them, which just increases the number of call-ins and the opportunities, and that increases the chance for success. And so these are all things that could be studying and doing in the winter. But again, most people, they don't want to put in the work. They're like, yeah, we'll figure it out on the hill, or oh, we'll do this. Or again, it's why we've hunted these same two drainages for 7 years now. Okay, what if 5 miles down the road was another drainage that's the most phenomenal drainage you've ever been in with tons of elk? You never know. And Bryce gives me a bad time about that all the time. He's like, are you never satisfied with a place that we hunt? And I'm like, no, it's not that I'm not satisfied. It's I always want to learn the area better. I'm always curious, and it's kind of one of those things during the winter. It's like, okay, I want to find places that I can go and explore during the summer. When we're camping or hiking or riding, I don't want to go to the same place over and over and over again. I want to go explore new spots. I mean, there's so much that all of our states have to offer that we can go out and explore. And I mean, I remember I said one time too, don't fall in love with a spot. Fall in love with elk. So, okay. Any questions so far?
No question. Just you were talking equipment and that you shot less or practiced less this year and it bothered you. And
Mhm.
I totally agree. It was right there. I didn't get to shoot that much, but what I did shoot at home, I can do 20 yards. And
Yeah.
so that's all the shots I got this year. Well, before I got my elk, I had another shot earlier at a nice bull that was coming in, and I had him at 30 yards where he's going to cross, and he stopped, and I came up and shot quick, so I didn't waste time, and that elk ran off. And here I find my arrow, there's no blood, and I think about it, and it was just like practice, 20 yards. Well, that bull was at 35.
Mm.
Just, yeah, learn your equipment, but change your range. And
And honestly, a lot of times one of the things I've been doing for the last several years is I'll shoot a little bit 20, 30, 40, but most of the shooting that I do is at 60 yards. And it's
Yeah,
not yeah, it's not because I'm ever going to shoot 60 yards hunting. It's because at 60 yards what you have to go through with your process to execute that shot is you're focused more on everything that, man, you get a 20-yard shot and it's a chip shot.
yep. I do the same thing.
Yeah, practice at longer yardages. Greg, one of the things you can do too is even if you have a spot in your house, a basement or out in the garage that you can just set up a target and just do 5 yard blank bailing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term blank bailing or know what that. So a blank bail is you're not actually aiming at a spot. You're just basically drawn back and you're just holding. And sometimes when I blank bail, I'll draw back and I'll actually just close my eyes. Once I know, obviously I do this when there's a big target face, but I'll close my eyes and just work on bringing my thumb around and then rotate and pull and do the pull and push. And so blank bailing is you're not worried about hitting dots. You're not worried about hitting a spot. You're basically focusing on your form, your draw cycle, your anchor, your shot process, everything. Because really, psychologically, we all have a form of target panic in us. And some of you may notice this when your pin, because when your pin starts getting near the dot on a target, your mind is already anticipating an explosion, which is the bow going off. And so that's why sometimes when your dot starts getting, or your pin starts getting on the dot, that's why a lot of times when your pin covers the dot, your mind will make you move that pin off to see if that dot is still there. That's why sometimes you will sit there and your pin's doing this on that dot because your mind is telling you, is the dot still there? Did the dot move? Let's move the pin. Let's double check. Let's make sure. And so it's kind of that psychological thing. And so then you're sitting here doing this, and now all of a sudden your mind's anticipating, and then you start punching that trigger because it's like, oh, the pin's getting close, punch. So one of the things that you can do with that, and that's where blank bailing comes in really well with the form. And then the other thing that you can do is a lot of people, they'll end up shooting low because their pin will be above, they'll start dropping it on the target, and their pin's still moving when they execute the shot, and that pin falls underneath and they always end up hitting under. So good thing to do is bring your pin down underneath and then bring it back up and then hold. So, but yeah, blank bailing is a great tool to really just work on form. So
They say that if you're shooting and your pin starts hovering over the target or what you want to hit, to pull through at that point and then do a surprise release because that's a strong shot.
right,
If you do a weak shot, you're usually hitting right bottom, like
yep,
5 o'clock or something.
yeah,
I was actually watching Levi Morgan recently, and he was talking about a strong shot, trying to teach his kid to do it. And I'll
yep,
be damned if this kid didn't just start shooting like great when he started telling about a strong shot.
yeah.
Doing that hovering thing, as soon as it starts hovering, because it's going to walk, you can't hold it
It,
still.
it it will, and everybody has a different pattern. It's either a small circle or it's a figure eight.
Hmm.
Everybody has some sort of pattern. So, but if you're just doing that small circle and that pin is always there on that dot doing that small circle, and yeah, doing that good strong pull through and your pull push, you're executing the shots, your chance of putting it in, and that's why a lot of times you guys have seen me post pictures of those little tiny dots that I shoot at 20 and 30 yards. It's that adage of aim small, miss small. Now, Greg, here's something else on this blank bailing, and this is something that John Dudley talks about. So if you really have a problem with target panic to where you're punching the trigger, blank bailing is one of the best things that you can do. But what he does is he will either take a small little printout of the dots, the circles, or he will find a small little silhouette of a deer and he will cut that out, and he will put that on the inside of his sight so that the pin is sitting right exactly where you want it to on the deer. And so then when you're sitting there blank bailing, I mean, you're just sitting there, so you're still seeing your pin on a target. So your mind's getting used to seeing the pin stay on the target and hold, and you execute the shot. And then that way you always have that sight picture. And I thought that was one of the coolest ideas. And I played with it one time, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool. But that's the other advantage too of practicing out at those longer yardages of 60, 70, 80 yards, is really holding that pin. Because you know, with those yardages, I shoot a circle that's about that big, and at 60 yards, I mean, my pin covers that whole thing. Can't even see it anymore. But that's where coming from the top underneath, and then, you know, bring that pin up and really focusing. So the other tricky thing too is so many people will focus their eyes on their pin that their target becomes out of focus. And it's actually opposite. You want to focus on your target. Your pin will fuzz out, but you can still see your pin enough to know exactly where it's at on the target. So if your pin is in focus, you need to redirect your eyes and focus on the target. A little more.
sense.
Yep, that's right.
And it's a hard thing to do. So I shoot both eyes open, and I have for years, just because the sight picture. And it's kind of cool because your right eye will track the arrow and your left eye is focused on the dot, and it's so cool to see the arrow flight and then it come together. So I mean, I know there's times when I'm down there at Dead on Archery that I don't know how many guys, you know, will just start chirping, and you don't even shoot with a peep sight, and then I'll start, you know, drilling that dot at 60 yards, and after about the first group, they usually don't say too much after that. So, because I mean, here's my arrows at 60 yards, and here's theirs at 60 yards, and wow, that's kind of impressive. So, but I actually am thinking about putting a peep sight back in. I don't know. I probably
I
won't.
had to. I had to go with a clarifier and a peep sight.
Oh, actually,
My pin's so blurry, it's stupid.
I'm gonna go with a great big old 1/4 inch freaking peep sight. That thing's gonna let in so much stinking light. So I'm gonna go with a big, which is counter to what a lot of experts say, because a lot of experts are saying if you start having problems with your eyes, go to a smaller and smaller peep sight. The only problem is in hunting situations, you go into a smaller peep sight, it's letting in less and less light, and you're actually eliminating quite a bit of time in the morning and in you know, last bit of light at day that you can actually shoot.
Well, your eye will find the center of that peep sight
Uh-huh.
automatically. I mean, if you look through, you're going to see the center.
Yeah.
It just does it.
Well, and plus, you know, having the ring of the peep sight with the ring of the sight housing, and making sure you're completely lined up and, you know, not off, you know, you've got that thing set, and that's definitely one of the things. I'm going to go ahead, because I have Liz started on hers with no peep sight. I'm going to go ahead and put a peep sight in on hers, because, you know, she's used to rifle hunting, and so get used to that ring on ring and get her lined up. So
Got that.
Nothing then that peep sight's turned and not, you can't see through it. Yeah. I
that's
like
one of
those.
that's one of the reasons I yanked my peep sight out.
I never does that. That's crazy. No. But I've got that Easy V sight too. I don't have it on my bow. I got it, and
Yeah.
I tried it a couple times, but I hear good reviews on it, and there's other people are like, I can't use that thing. I actually drilled a hole in the top of it and drilled a hole in the center with a really tiny drill bit I bought at Ace Hardware, and put a wire down through it so I have a center
Yeah.
on it. And I
Yeah.
still was having a little trouble. Oh, I didn't mess with it too long.
I know he sent me a couple, and I gave one to Eric, and I kept one, and I messed with it just a little bit. You know, the concept is quick target acquisition, you know, not counting pins and you know, all that kind of stuff. And but
I get it, but how, especially like at 40 yards or something, where do you, the chest of something it's
You
all
center,
a person, it's all in the person's perspective
you
of
know,
where you put that on the chest.
yeah, you center the basketball. That's what he said.
Right.
You,
But
you
it's like,
center the
okay,
basketball
how big
depending on the yardage and
yeah, but it's like, well, okay. I had a
yeah.
problem with doing it like at practice. It was like, oh my God, I had to get a target that was this big, you know.
Yeah, I didn't play with it a whole lot. I don't even know. I think I ended up selling it on Facebook Marketplace. And of course, he'll message me once in a while. Hey, have you played with that site? And I'm like, no, no, haven't. I don't have the heart to tell him that I sold it because he sent me a couple of them for free to try and give feedback. And well, okay. So,
When I shot fingers, I didn't have a peep sight, but when I went to a release, then I went to a peep sight.
oh heck, when I was shooting fingers, I didn't use a peep sight, a sight, or anything. I was completely 100% instinctive, and that's not only the recurve that I shot. But my first compound bow, I shot fingers and instinctive. So, and I did that for first 2 3 years. So in fact, that first bull that I shot, that was completely fingers, no sight, completely instinctive on him. And then yeah, then I got my first sight, still shot fingers with the sight, and then finally went to the release aid, and well, now I've been fiddling and twinking, making changes ever since. So in fact, God, did I bow that? This is actually going to be the third season with this bow. I haven't bought a new bow for a little while. Oh, Liz did tell me that she wants a new bow. She doesn't want to shoot the hand me down that she's shooting. So I'm like, okay, fine. I said that thing's still basically brand new. I doubt it has less than 200 shots on it. So
Wow.
yeah, it's a Bowtech Carbon Rose. So I was like, all right. I said I'll do a raffle, 100 tickets, $20. So because I showed her the Matthews Prima, which is exactly like my Matthews V3, just the women's version. She's like, yeah, I like that. And then she scrolled down. She's like, $1,100. Yeah,
For a flagship bow, it is, yeah.
yeah.
How come?
I said that's going to save me from spending $1,600. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, because SIG came out with that Cross Magnum and the 300 Remington Ultra Mag. And well, if you're done rifle hunting, I don't have to spend $1,600 on the Cross Magnum. I just got to spend $1,100 on a new bow. So you saved me money. Thank you. So, all
And you
right.
get free peep sight.
What's that?
And you get a free peep sight.
Yes. Yeah, definitely going to stick the peep sight in for her. So, all right. So the last thing, which as we get older is one of the things that we definitely avoid doing the work, and that's getting our butt in shape. Um, I know, years past would do, a little bit, do some in the gym, and then summertime would spend hiking. Um, Liz and I have started doing the Mountain Tough workout. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do the Mountain Tough workout, but the Mountain Tough workout is designed for the mountains. It is designed for hunters. We started doing the foundation portion of it right before archery season and kind of went through, September and October when could doing that. And then right here, because their program goes post season November to February, which is putting the weight back on that you lost. This year I lost 18 pounds during September and October. I lose anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds every year during hunting season. And so November to February of this is actually putting muscle back on that we lost. And then you have March, April, May, that is spring. And then you have preseason, which is June, July, August, and then September and October is in season, and then you start back up. And whew, those workouts have been kicking my 53-year-old tail end. So, but we feel so much better. I mean, sleeping better. Everything is just so much better. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying that you guys have to do anything like that. But I mean, even walking on a treadmill at a 12-degree incline at, a decent pace 3 times a week, sometimes throwing your pack on when you're doing that. Stuff like that 3 times a week, you'll be amazed at how much of a difference not only does it make just hiking through the woods, but when you do get something down and packing it out. So,
Well, you know what I just started doing? I mean, I go to the gym all the time. I'm going to be 65 next month. So I can still take at the gym, I can still take 315 for a set of 15 reps on squats.
nice.
So yeah, I'm lucky, I guess. So anyway, I do the treadmill at like 15% grade, and my rest is like at 9% after I
Yeah.
do 15%. But I just started doing a lot of biking because I read an article where this guy was having a problem in the woods, and a guy and a trainer just actually suggested him do some mountain biking. So I started doing mountain biking, some biking, and also some sissy squats when I'm off in the gym. Like I do squats on Tuesday, and I do the sissy squats at the house on Friday. And I've noticed that my squats, I bust through a set of 315 like it's nothing now, and I haven't been doing it that long. And I don't know if it's from the bike riding or from doing this. If anybody doesn't know what a sissy squat is, you hold it like a wall,
Yep.
and you get back on your heels,
Yep.
and you squat down and kind of hold the wall. So you can do it at home like that. They also have a sissy squat machine thing you can get, but you can just do it. I use it with a dumbbell, 30-pound dumbbell. But I've gotten stronger in the legs,
Yep.
and the treadmill is much easier too. And I think it's from the bike riding.
Yeah. See like tonight's workout. So our warm up was a 500-meter row. And then we did 30 seconds of high knees, 30 seconds of butt kicks, 30 seconds of the world's greatest stretch, 30 seconds of overhead lunges, 30 seconds of floor wipers, and then banded walks. And then we get into the workout, which was a half-mile run. And then we did what's called 22s, where the first one tonight was kettlebell deadlifts and then bar pull-ups, which you basically just have a bar on a squat rack and you're just, you're almost squatted down and you're pulling up. So you're not pulling your whole body weight. But the 22 is we do 22 of the kettlebell deadlifts and then 2 of those bar pull-ups. Then 18, 4, 16, 6. So everything equals 22. You end up doing 110 reps of each thing. Then you go back, we run another half a mile on the treadmill. Then we come back in and we did ball hamstring curls, where you're laying on your back with your feet up on a ball and you rotate. You basically use your feet. You're doing a hamstring curl. 20 of those, and then 2 renegade rows, and then 18, 4, 16, all the way down to 2 and 20. And then we finish with a half-mile run. And then we did the 100s, which is 25 unassisted sit-ups, 25 elbow to knees, 25 flutter kicks, 25 crunches, and then a 1-minute plank. And that was our workout tonight.
So how much time do you have to catch? Do you do anything at break between doing all this stuff, or like a little rest period, or is it
Your goal is to get through it as fast as you can. But
oh, man,
but yeah, I mean,
is there
take
any
breaks.
air in the world?
What's that?
Is there any air in the world?
Yeah, and that's one thing that we found is this is our second week of the November to February, and I mean your recovery time is just so much faster. But like I said, the Mountain Tough is designed, but they also have body weight workouts that you can do at the house, or they have weighted pack workouts, and again through the different months, through the different seasons. So it's it's a cool program that you can either do at home with just your body weight, or at home with a weighted pack, or they have a kettlebell 2 or a KB20, which is a full-on kettlebell, or you have the full gym, full equipment, partial equipment. It's just really a cool program that, like I said, was completely designed for backcountry hunting and the military. So, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of choices. There's a lot of choices out there, but bottom line, basically just do something. And the hardest thing is, and I'm guilty of this as well, we get through September, maybe we're hunting into October, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of a break to rest my body. And
Next
then
thing
all
you
of
know,
next thing you know, it's January, February, March, and then it's like, holy crap, turkey season and spring bears come in, and I get winded walking up the flight of stairs at the house. I guess I better kind of start doing something. And honestly, the best thing we could do is roll off the mountain right into working out. We're going to avoid the soreness. We're already going to be in some sort of
already
shape.
there. Yeah.
So
You're
I mean,
conditioned.
you already got to start.
Yep.
So
Yes.
why take the break? And because then most people too, they'll start doing something, and then after a couple of days, holy crap, my arms are so sore, I can't pick them up to wash my hair, that I have to lean over in the shower, or
That just
man,
that
I've
puts you
got
right
a
there.
I've got a softball sized knot in my butt cheeks that I can't even walk. It just wholly hurts. And my wife walks behind me and pokes me and makes me cry and pee a little. And this just isn't worth it. I'm just, you know what? I'm too sore to work out. I'm gonna let the soreness go away before I work out again. And then it's always that vicious cycle. Then they get sore again, and it's I gotta wait for this to go away before I work out again. Where in reality, if we roll off the mountain and just start, treadmill, gym, I mean, yeah, that 15% incline. In fact, what I was doing before the season to get ready was I would go on the treadmill and I would start, because the treadmill that we have can go up to 15 degrees, but it
Right.
has 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, or doesn't go, no, it goes all the way up to 20. And so what I would do is I would start walking at 3.5 miles per hour, and I would start at 0, and then every 2 minutes I would raise it to 4 all the way up to 20, and then bring
Well,
that
you're
thing back
lucky.
down.
My treadmill only goes, the one we have at the gym only goes up to 15.
But still,
I
you could,
told I told my cardiologist, I said, it only goes to 15. It can't go no higher. 'Cause I have
but
eight, so I have
Put wood
AFib.
blocks under the front.
What's that?
Put wood blocks under the front
Oh, yeah, that's
legs.
an idea. I should have frowned at that.
yeah, but no, you
Oh,
can you can do that same thing where you can start at 0 and just
oh,
go
yeah,
up,
I've done that.
just go up 2 degrees every 3 minutes.
It's actually a good thing to vary your workout when you're doing that, so you don't get
Absolutely.
yeah, it just it'll mess your heart whole thing up, because I've got AFib, so I do this year round because I have to.
Yeah.
I can't stop doing that. So
Well, I know one of the guys that I work with, he tried this program once. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I did the 22s once." And he goes, "Uh-uh." And he's like 35, 36. He goes, I'm sure if you stayed with it, it would get easier." And he was asking me today, he's like, "How's it going?" And I said, "Well, we're on week 2, and it was the second time around on Monday, and we got through it easier. In fact, because the first time we did it last week on Monday, um, because on Monday it's medicine ball squats with disengaged push-ups, which a disengaged push-up is you come down on the ground and you lift your hands completely off the ground, so you disengage all of the tension on your chest, and then you push back up. So again, you're doing 110 medicine ball squats and 110 push-ups. I hit muscle failure. I got to where it was 4 squats and 18 push-ups, and I hit muscle failure, last week. And then the second one was walking lunges with barbell standing shoulder presses. I hit muscle failure on that last week too, the first time we did it. So did Liz. This Monday, we didn't hit muscle failure. We made it all the way through all the reps.
well, it's just
Now
like
you have a point of showing improvement.
Exactly.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like when I was doing the treadmill, started doing that 15%. It'll whoop your ass when you first start it.
Yeah.
I mean, but then it doesn't take that long to build up and get doing it. You know,
Where
There's,
I start my reps, I'll start my reps, 5, 10, but I'll move where I start my reps a little further away from the fridge so that I have to walk further.
well, maybe we'll get you to the point where you're jogging from the couch to the fridge and
yeah,
back, and you can make it over there and back without stopping to catch your breath. So, but
do a couple tucks and rolls to get a little.
yeah, yeah. So But no, there's there's the band sets that you can get for the home. I know, we bought a band set and there was three deals that I put on the wall: high, middle, and low. So you can do whole all kinds of band workouts. I mean, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube that are free. You don't have to
Oh,
pay for
they've
these
got
apps.
they've got
Um,
great things on YouTube for working out. Great.
there
Like a
are.
tool and a half now for that.
Yeah. There's so many resources, and that's kind of the point I was getting at was that there's so many resources that are available to us out there that we really don't have any excuse not to do it. So, but we just make excuses. It's the magic we're looking for is in the work that we're avoiding. And so that's just one of
Mhm.
those things. So
Mhm.
but that is where we're going to wrap it up tonight. Those were kind of the things that I just wanted to cover and just kind of talk about the work and how we can increase the magic in the oak woods by putting in just a little bit of the work. And it's really I mean it varies from person to person. It's like because I talked about increasing success, but really what's the definition of success? That's different from person to person. I mean, some people, their only definition of success is animals on the ground and punch tags. I mean, me, it's any elk that's called in to 40 yards or less. That's a successful hunt. Going into a brand new area and locating elk and getting into elk, that's a success. Learning something new about the hunt area, that's a success. Going a little bit farther on the trail than you have before to kind of explore things. So it's really, you just need to kind of define what success is to you, what you want to get out of that, and then kind of take a look and go, okay, what work do I need to do in all these areas to make sure that I hit that? And that's where kind of setting goals each season, going in, to a season with a goal really, really helps. And one of the other things that I want to touch on here real quick too is mindset. Somebody asked me one time why I'm so successful elk hunting. And my response was because the average person goes into their elk hunt with the mindset of, I hope I get an elk this year, or I hope I get an elk this year. I go into my hunt, I will get an elk. I am going to get an elk. I know I'm going to. And I mean, there's times where Bryce will be like, man, I hope we get an elk this year. And I'm like, dude, shut up. There's no hope. We have the knowledge, we have the hunt areas, we have all these things. We will, and the power of positive thinking makes a huge difference when you're out there.
My goal is I want to help somebody in the group get an elk. If I
You know,
call, if I,
paying it forward and helping somebody else is just one of the in fact, Bryce and I were talking about that on that last weekend when we were up there. He and I are both in the same boat. We could both care less if he shoots it or I shoot it or whatever. It's we get joy and pleasure out of seeing somebody else, especially if they're fairly new or they don't have that much success. I mean, that's one of the things that I absolutely enjoyed when I first started hunting, with Bryce and Kevin was with us, because I mean those guys had hunted for 7 years and never even really seen an elk and never even really heard a bugle. And all of a sudden, that first morning they're hearing their first bugle. We're bailing off the top of the ridge, and next thing they know, we're completely surrounded with elk running all around us. They didn't know what to stink and do. And then Tyson ends up shooting that 337 6x6 that was bladed on the left side that came in. And I mean, those guys were just in awe. And then, then Kevin moved to Wyoming, and then Bryce and I just continued. And we had a little gap that we didn't hunt together when I was with the Explorers Journal big game hunting show and the whole DVD series. But he continued to hunt and hone his skills. And then when we came back together, it was just yeah, it was just so much fun. But yeah, Greg, it's awesome when you can help somebody,
Yeah,
get their
Fritz
first
and I
elk.
like to. Fritz has a larger family, and their younger uh, members of his family. They'll come up to the cabin and hunt with us, and we love it to take them out to show them, let them experience. But they can help us carry our elk out because they can haul more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you just need to tell them it's a rite of passage. So
We don't
we
even.
we all had to do it when we were younger, so they have to do it also.
We just
So
want fresh tenderloin for dinner.
yeah, Sandy, you've been pretty quiet tonight. You got anything?
Yeah, I was eating dinner, so
Figured
Aha,
you
I,
that's
were
why.
I was
eating.
trying not to smack in your guys' ear.
No, didn't hear anything. Didn't hear anything. So what did you think about the discussion tonight?
No, it was good. I'm still practicing because the late archery starts here in about week and a half for deer local. So I'm still shooting. In fact, Sunday I set up a ground blind I had bought and started shooting out of that because that's my hope for deer this year. And
Good.
that was interesting because the blind's small enough. The tip of the arrow's out of the blind when I'm drawing, but
I've been there.
it worked. So I'm gonna
Good.
probably go set that up this week and hopefully have a deer down next week.
Good. Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
luck.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. So we will come back in 2 weeks. If you guys have any topics you want hit, I mean, just email me. Sandy, I'm still working on the question you have. I haven't found anything. So I don't know. So oh, January. We'll do a little announcement here real quick before we jump off. So January. We are, well, I am going to be launching the first 30-day challenge, which I kind of told you guys briefly about, a little while ago. So it's a 30-day getting started challenge. So it's going to start with a free little 30-minute, kind of webinar. It's kind of introducing people to, Elk Calling Academy. And if they sign up for the webinar, they will have an opportunity to get a free 14-day access to the online course. But then it's going to run them through a whole sales ladder, up sales. So it's going to offer them the 14-day, which then after the 14-day they have a regular membership. So the annual, but I'm actually adding a new option in that I'm thinking about instead of only offering the $99.99 annual. I'm thinking about offering a $3.99 lifetime access. So instead of paying $99.99 each year, you can pay $3.99 one time and have lifetime access to the online course forever, as long as I'm here with the face in the camera, or as Greg mentioned, Knox starts popping in and takes over, and he takes it for the next generation. So, but yeah, so those are some of the changes that are kind of coming in January. So.
Good. What was the name of the book that you said was worth putting on the shelf but pulling back off again?
I knew you were going to ask me that. So
Yeah.
if you just search on Amazon for Dr. Valerius Geist elk book, it'll pull it up. I can't remember the name of it. It's been that long since I've looked at it. And I had a
Valerian?
feeling Valerius.
Hilarious with a
Yeah.
V.
Yeah, V.
Okay.
Or you might just search Dr. Geist, Geist.
That's what I needed. Okay.
So, okay, so you guys are familiar with the North American wildlife model, right, of conservation?
Hmm.
Dr. Valerius Geist was one of the ones that helped found and create
Oh,
that. So he was one of the biologists behind it all. Smart guy, knows
yeah.
animals. So, in fact, if you ever want to, you can even he was on a podcast where he was talking about mule deer and whitetail, and where you'll hear some people talk about a hybrid mule deer whitetail. Yeah, he's got great theories on that, and it's pretty interesting listen. So
Okay.
Yeah, I bet.
I'll look for 'em.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. But yeah, if you guys have any topics, just email me on anything that you want covered, and we will head that route. So as always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, though, have fun. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight.
See you guys.
Sure. Have a good
See you
night.
guys.
Good luck, Sandy.